Alabama loses Jameson Williams, John Mechie, and Slade Bolden following the 2021 season. The trio combined for 217 receptions for 3,122 yards. Today, we're going to talk about the Alabama receiver group going into the 2022 season, but we need to get this video to 500 likes. We'd appreciate that. We'll start with the upperclassman returning, Thao Jones-Bell, 6 foot, 190 pounds, going to be a junior this coming season in 2022. We really haven't seen too much of Jones-Bell, to be honest. When you look at the stat category for Jones-Bell since he arrived in 2020, he's played in minimal games, only 4 since the 2020 season, recording just 3 receptions going into this next season of 2022. The other upperclassman in the receiver room is TRAESHON Holden, 6'3", 208 pounds, out of Florida. And we've seen a little bit of TRAESHON Holden. Got to see him this past season. As the coaching staff sprinkled him around, seems like he has a nice continuity with Bryce Young, the quarterback. When you look to TRAESHON Holden and the stats that he produced during this past season, 15 games played, 21 receptions, 239 yards with 1 touchdown. Now we move to the freshmen from this past season who are now going to be sophomores. We start with Jacorey Brooks, 6'2", 190 pounds. And the thing that we liked about Brooks was he really came on when his name was called. He was a guy that was patient. He looked good at practice. And then when he had his opportunities, and especially late in the season, Jacorey Brooks was really solid, really dependable, came up with a big touchdown against Auburn and then against Cincinnati. 15 games played, 15 receptions, 192 yards, really a receiver that stepped up when John Mechie went out this past season. So look for Jacorey Brooks to be a dependable target once again in 2022. JOJO Earle going to be a sophomore, 5'10", 170 pounds, out of Aledo, Texas. And we did see JOJO Earle plenty during this past season. Saw him at wide receiver working at that slot position and also saw him returning punts. Played in 12 games, 12 receptions this past season for 148 yards for JOJO Earle. One of the fastest players on the team also returns to 2022, and that's Christian Leary, who was a freshman this past season out of Florida. A lot of wide receivers coming to Alabama from the state of Florida. And one thing with Leary is he came into Alabama this past season as a receiver, and we're still listing him with the receivers, but he was actually transitioned to the running back room late in the season as Alabama lost several running backs. Played in 8 games this season, caught 2 passes for 4 yards. Going to be interesting to see how Alabama continues to use Christian Leary. Very dynamic player. Clearly, he can play different positions if needed. Agiye Hall, 6'3", 195 pounds, out of Florida as well. Now, Agiye Hall was always on fire in terms of social media. People were really excited about Agiye Hall, especially after that spring game where he looked like Randy Moss combined with Julio Jones, right? So what Agiye Hall is bringing to Alabama is someone who certainly wants the football, wants to prove that he can be that guy. And we saw him come on late in the season when his number was finally called. Played in 7 games, 4 receptions, 72 yards. We want to hear from you. How excited are you to see Agiye Hall's continued development at Alabama going into 2022? Now, Alabama loaded up on wide receivers from the class of 2022. Let's quickly look at who's coming in. Prentice, 5'11", 178 pounds, out of the home state of Alabama. You also have KENDRICK listed as an athlete, but speaking with Andrew Bone, he's going to play wide receiver. Clearly a great pickup out of the state of Louisiana, bringing in KENDRICK. You also got Isaiah Bond, extremely fast, very dynamic, 6 foot, 175 pounds, out of the state of Georgia. A couple more wide receivers to talk about. You got AMARI NIBLACK, 6'4", 228 pounds. This young man has a very entertaining highlight tape, speed, power, kind of that next level tight end / wide receiver. Excited to see what NIBLACK brings to the University of Alabama during his initial season. And finally, you have Aaron Anderson, 5'10", 180 pounds, also out of Louisiana. Same with KENDRICK. Okay, so we've looked at the Alabama receiving room going into 2022, but I have a question for you. Do you think that Nick Saban is going to bring in a veteran wide receiver like he did this past season, bringing in Jameson Williams from Ohio State? Let me know if you think Nick Saban's going to dip into the NCAA transfer portal to add a wide receiver to this room going into the 2022 season. Hey, thank you very much for watching. We sincerely appreciate you being a subscriber to BamaInsider.com. Check out some of our other videos right here on BamaInsider.com.